Good day. I think it would be great if we would review the three different branches of the Philippines. First, here we have the executive branch. The executive branch of the Philippine government is primarily responsible for the implementation and enforcement of laws. It is headed by the president, who is both the head of the state and government. It is directly elected by the people for a single 6-year term without the possibility of re-election. The president's powers are broad and wide-ranging, including executive orders, the issuance of proclamations, and the power to veto bills passed by the Congress. So we have here the president is the highest ranking official in the country and serves as the chief executive officer. And then we have here the vice president. And of course, we have the cabinet and the departments. So the president appoints members to his cabinet, which includes heads of various executive departments, such as the Department of Justice. We already know Jesus Crispin Remulla used to be the head of the Department of Justice. Now he is the ombudsman. Okay, now let's go to the powers of the executive branch, appointment powers. So we have already talked about that here. Who are this one? Of course, justices in the Supreme Court, and then the members of the cabinet and ambassadors. Okay, of course, the president is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of the Philippines, and then he has the power for executive orders and pardon and clemency. Okay, so the president, Bongbong Marcos, heads the executive power. Go to the legislative branch. The legislative branch of the Philippines is responsible for making laws. So the bicameral body, which is the Senate and the House of Representatives, our congressmen. Okay, so you can just read what is the Senate here. We have the House of Representatives, so you can just read it. And then the powers of the legislative branch. The lawmaking body, both the Senate and the House of Representatives, can propose and pass laws. Next is impeachment. The House of Representatives has the exclusive power to initiate impeachment proceedings against the president, vice president, and other impeachable officials. The Senate serves as the court of impeachment. So that is what is happening right now, right? Martin Romualdez was able to gather, all in all, there were like 215 congressmen who signed up for VP Sara's impeachment last year. And this year, according to the resolution document in the Supreme Court, still it's like 215. So, and the most abused power, the power of the purse. The Congress holds the power to approve the budgets. Okay, this one. Okay, you can just read it here, but this one is the most abused. Now we have here checks on legislative power. We have the president holds veto power over bills. Okay. Additionally, judicial review can invalidate laws passed by the Congress if they are found to be unconstitutional. Last, we have the judicial branch. The judicial branch is tasked with interpreting laws and ensuring that they are applied fairly and consistently. It is an independent from the other branches and acts as the guardian of the Constitution. The judicial branch interprets the law. We have here the Supreme Court, the highest judicial body in the Philippines. Of course, we have the lower courts. Let's go to the powers of the judicial branch. One of the most significant powers of the judiciary is judicial review, which allows the courts to examine the constitutionality of laws, executive actions, and other government acts. If a law or government action is found to be unconstitutional, the courts have the authority to invalidate it, which is what really happened nowadays, right? So the House of Representatives proposed something, and then the Supreme Court found it unconstitutional, and so they were like, no, this is unconstitutional. We will not allow it. So that is the check and balance between the three branches, right? Like, we'll see another one. Okay, we have here interpretation of the laws. Of course, they are the one who should interpret the laws for us, okay? They studied it for years. They practiced law for years to be able to be part of this branch. And then, of course, under their power, adjudication of disputes. So we have here checks on judicial power. Although the judiciary is an independent branch of the government, its powers are limited in several ways. The president appoints the justices, remember? And then the Congress can propose amendments to the Constitution. And that is why Soto is asking for charter change. Cha-cha, because they want to overpower the judiciary branch. Remember, the executive branch is already headed by President Bongbong Marcos. The legislative branch is already headed by his cousin, Martin Romualdez. They want to overpower judicial branch. What are they pushing for? Charter change. So what will happen to the check and balance of the three branches of the government if these branches are controlled by one party, one side? They are so used to bending the law that the DOJ, Remulla, became an ombudsman. A quick search online here, ombudsman.gov.ph, will show you the powers, function, and the duties of the ombudsman. Here you can read it, pause it. Okay. Now, at the end of the day, they have the power to investigate any public official, and in which who's their target? VP Sara. Executive branch, Bongbong Marcos. Legislative branch, cousin Martin Romualdez. Ombudsman, Boying Remulla. DILG, John Vic Remulla. And now they are asking for charter change because the Supreme Court did not accept their impeachment complaint against VP Sara. Gising Pilipinas. Gising. 2 branches of the government is already jeopardized. Magigising na lang tayong wala ng Pilipinas. Especially to the youth, especially to the youth. Please research. Kayo man kaya ang pag-asa ng bayan. No? Research. Love your country. Love the Philippines. Love the Filipinos. Ano nang gagawin natin? Manonood na lang ba tayo sa pagnanakaw nila? Manonood na lang ba tayo sa kaguluhang nangyayari? Gising. Speak up.